Thanks, and good morning, everyone. At least it's morning here. My name's Beth Sprague from the RND. That is the Reassigned Numbers Database. I'm the director of the RND administration at Somos.gov under the NAMPA contract. So thanks for letting me give you a little update on the RND. The system has been in place for about a year. And sorry. There we go. So I'll just go over what the RND is as it relates to the FCC's multi-pronged approach to addressing the problem of unwanted texts and calls. After reviewing the purpose, I'll briefly review how the RND is populated on a monthly basis, as well as how it was initially populated, and why it should be used and who it should be used by, and then any questions that come up. So I think many of you are familiar with the December 2018 report and order from the FCC to combat unlawful robocalls. And then included in that order was one of the Commission's solutions to addressing unwanted calls and texts to numbers that have been reassigned. By checking the database first, a caller can avoid calling a number that's been reassigned to a new subscriber. And that's important because if it's a new subscriber, they likely haven't given consent. And if you're contacting someone that hasn't given consent, you're definitely open up to liability under TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protection Act. So the next one, the order 18177, it mandated all providers of telephone numbers. That's everyone, voice over IP, wireless, landline, all of them, not just wireless. All providers, including toll-free numbers, have to report their permanently disconnected numbers to the RND every month, no later than the 15th. And I'll note that the TFNA, the toll-free numbering administrator, does that reporting on behalf of RESPORGs. Also, the order defined permanent disconnect as occurring when a subscriber has permanently relinquished a number, or the provider has permanently reversed its assignment of the number. In addition, the order specified that a temporary disconnect, like due to non-payment, as well as ported out numbers, are not considered permanent disconnects. And so prior to the order, there was no minimum aging. There's no minimum aging period. This order mandated a 45-day minimum aging period. So that means if you have a number disconnected in a given month, it can't be reassigned to a new customer until after the next month's database, the RND is refreshed. So that means that a new consumer that might be assigned that same telephone number is theoretically protected from unwanted calls or texts. And that's assuming that callers are querying the RND before they're reaching out. So what is the RND? This is a nice diagram of it. The FCC established the single national database, and part of the reason was to make it easier for companies to comply with TCPA rules by having to only access one database rather than multiple sources. And over on the left, as far as how it was populated, as of April 15, 2021, the RND was populated with the disconnects that the service providers and the toll-free administrator have been keeping track of since July 27 of 2020. The small providers, that's those having less than 100,000 subscriber lines, they had an additional 6 months to start tracking, as well as an additional 6 months to report their seed data. And I will note that there's only about 2% of all reporting carriers that come from the small providers. So the database was considered complete on October 15, 2021, with all TNs being reported back as far as January 27, 2021. So going forward, the service providers and the toll-free administrator are required to report every month, no later than the 15th of each month. And they do that via GUI or via SFTP. So then over on the right, the callers that are actually querying the database, we have callers and caller agents. They're querying to basically determine whether that telephone number has been permanently disconnected from that consumer they tend to reach. And There's various ways to do it. It's very easy to set up. It's either via GUI, SFTP, or API. So the next one. Now today, in the database, we have over 250 million numbers, and that number will continue to grow with every monthly report. When the database was first populated, it was initially about 140 million TNs, and we continue to see over 20 million disconnects reported each month. So this number is just going to continue to grow for a while. As far as our metrics going back to the beginning, when I say the beginning, when we made this database available, general availability, which was November 1st, 2021, since that time, callers have made over 180 million queries. And also based on statistics going back to the general availability, we see the potentially over 10 million calls and texts to the wrong person have been avoided, thanks to the RND. So going on, as far as who should use the RND, now these examples that are up here are just, they're examples. It's basically any entity or enterprise that does any kind of outreach as part of their business practice. Things like appointment reminders, service renewals, customer service notifications, value-added service offerings. The list is endless. And the makeup of those callers that we have querying, it spans numerous industries: healthcare, finance, legal, insurance, real estate, automotive. We have very small companies using it up to very large companies. And we have about 10 tiers when you pick a subscription. So it's very flexible. And additionally, this rule down here, the CFPB, also around the same time that we had general availability last year, a new rule went into place under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And that rule specifically called out the FCC's RND as an accurate and complete database to use before sending a text to a consumer. So two different rules, TCPA and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau are advising to use this system. So going on, more benefits of using the RND, put them all up there, as well as the regulatory requirements, being eligible for safe harbor and having a defense from an unintentional calling from debt collection. There's also just the operational savings, saving time and money by only having to call once, only having to check one authoritative source to scrub outreach lists. Protecting the brand, because no one wants to get nuisance calls. And on this last page, we have our website, reassigned.us. There's only a few of us that answer that, so you will reach one of us that can help. If you go to reassigned.us, there's a tab that says query, and it tells you exactly what to do if you want to register. You can register and you don't have to subscribe. It doesn't hold you to it, but you have to register to get some of the documentation, such as the API documentation. It's very easy to become either a caller or caller agent. And we also have noted that this is a somewhat new database of disconnected numbers, and we have had some companies approach with other use cases, and that is also welcomed because we work with the FCC and they're constantly analyzing and looking to see if there are other use cases. So that is everything I wanted to present. That's our little logo there, Connect with Confidence. And I don't know if anyone had questions. I think there was something in the chat. Oh, nothing in the chat.
If anybody has any questions, they just need to unmute themselves, or you can write it in the chat and we'll read it out for you.
Well, that's all I had. So if anyone does have any questions, please come back and reach out to us. Go to the website because all our contact is on there.
Hey, Beth, it's Steve Schwade from Verizon. Just out of curiosity, this is kind of out of my wheelhouse, but let me ask you. So with what's been going on, this has been how long since this database was kicked off?
November 1st, 2021.
All right, so you're coming up on the first year anniversary. What are you seeing as successful milestones, and what do you see as opportunities that maybe weren't identified previously?
As far as the ongoing amount, I said 20 million disconnects every month. I'm not sure what that means. We're actually close to 300 million telephone numbers in this database. And also those numbers, I think that I briefly said, it is being used. We've had over 180 million queries, and out of those 180 million queries, there are about 10 million that resulted in results that would tell the caller, don't call. So it probably is having the effect that the FCC wanted, which is to stop calls and texts that are unlawful. So I think that's.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone has any other questions, you can just write them in the chat or unmute yourself. You've had quite a few comments in the chat there, Beth, saying thank you, it was awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you. Great presentation, Beth. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so that rounds up another CFCA No session. Oh, hold on. Yeah, another thank you, Beth. 2 of them in the chat for you. So that rounds up another No session. Beth, thank you so much for your time and your time from Somos as well, our bronze sponsor for 2022. And thank you to all our other sponsors. And just one more thank you. Oh, that's you, Beth.
Yes,
So thanks ever so much, everyone. See you on the next one. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks all.
Thank you.